And I've got two big subjects I'm going to cover that are all intertwined and interconnected. First off, our intrepid Merkel Phelan, international reporter, is in Europe. So he's a few hours ahead of us, about 7 hours ahead of us. And the major Korean newspapers are reporting that Pompeo and the Trump administration have asked North Korea ahead of the Singaporean summit to turn over 5 of their atomic warheads. Now, this is in the major Seoul newspapers. It's linked in the article on Infowars.com. It's been up for about an hour. And there has been basically no coverage of this in the U.S. media. Just right before we went live, I went and checked CNN, and it still had nothing up there about it. So that's a big deal that that's being reported for hours in South Korea, but not here. And of course, it's tomorrow over there. So we'll continue to track that. I'll break down some of the aspects of that here in just a moment. And it ties into my second subject, which is the fall of QAnon, the internet sensation. I first started hearing about QAnon about a year ago, and most of what we saw there was already public intelligence. It was stuff that was already known. But some of it was pretty good information. I mean, we had been part of the storm, the American people, all of you, myself. We had said Trump was really ahead in the polls. We had said that CNN was staging the debates, and we'd said that the New York Times was wrong to say a 98% chance Hillary was going to win. Remember, we were the storm. We were the public people that wore the Make America Great Again hats and the Hillary for President hats. We went to the RNC. We marched in the streets from Dallas, Texas to Chicago, Illinois. We have faces. We have families. We had the Antifa mobs go after us. So we got Trump elected. We stood up against the bullies. We stood up against the PSYOP. And then about 6 months after Trump was in office, people began to say on 4chan and other boards, look, QAnon is Trump. QAnon is the reason Trump won. QAnon is the reason Jesus rose from the dead. And I was like, well, QAnon says some things that are pretty good. And I talked to some of my sources, quite a few of them, in Central Command and in other areas. And they said, yeah, we know some of the guys in the military that are kind of using that as a pen name, but anything anonymous, obviously you've got to watch. And then we started hearing, Trump, would have all these Clinton people, basically in jail by last November, and stick with the plan. Sessions is good, and Mueller's secretly on Trump's side, and it's all this big secret master plan, this big giant sting that's going on. All these people are going to get it. That's just not true, folks. Mueller is a Clinton globalist, Bush deep state operative. He's fighting with everything he's got to try to bring down Trump. They've got the mole, who I'm going to shoot a video later on, exposing from my high-level sources who the mole of the FBI and CIA and deep state was inside the Trump campaign. He was only on the periphery, by the way. And he was trying to handle Papadopoulos, but it didn't work. I'm going to reveal that pretty much exclusively. It's already known. Daily Caller kind of already figured it out. I made some phone calls last night and this morning, so I'm going to get to that too. But, again, QAnon tells us Sessions is God. And Trump's just putting on a big act here when he criticizes Sessions, or when he criticizes Mueller. And so when we are against Sessions, why, ladies and gentlemen, we are against Trump. And so, Alex, please stop trying to sabotage Trump, you damn Hillary supporter. We're anonymous out here on these message boards, and we say we're God, and you're going to listen to us real good. Well, guess what? I'm not. I didn't listen to Hillary's threats. I didn't listen to Soros's attacks, or Georgetown and the Vatican suing me. So I think I'll be just fine standing up to some of the little government goons, Southern Poverty Law Center folks, and this will be exposed soon, out there operating as Q. And I talked to some folks yesterday who talked to some military officers who were high up. They have figured out who one of the guys is that we talked to the generals through, and they put out a picture of him 10 years ago. I think that's a real fancy thing they discovered. I pretty much told you the guy's name on air. Told you he'd been on television and the news before, trying to expose Fort Hood before it happened and stuff like that. But expanding on that, these are real people. I'm a real person. My name's Alexander Emmerich Jones. I was born in Dallas, Texas. There is some type of tree frog over there chirping. And all of this is really going on. Oh, better not say that. I got sued for Pepe the Frog in a poster we were selling. So even a frog chirping is owned by that guy out in California that's suing me. Do we have a license from the Pepe the Frog guy?
Yeah, I'll contact the copyright board.
To even have that, we probably get sued for that. But seriously, so all this is going on, and it's so asinine and so ridiculous. So I talked to these sources, and they said, yeah, we know some of the guys that were doing that under the name Q, and just trying to fan the flames of people awakening. But now it's totally compromised, and what it's saying through these message boards is diametrically opposed to what Trump wants, what we want, what we're trying to do. So this whole thing of anonymousness stuff, I could sit there and say, I am Q. I am going public, I am Q. Because I have a security guy named Q. Quentin. People thought it was him. No, I'm not Q. Quentin's not Q. It just becomes this hysterical diversion. But here's the big issue. How do you know Q is super bad news now? It's creating infighting. It's attacking people that are established patriots like Dr. Corsi and others. It's defending the broke-back Justice Department and what's going on there and basically saying stand down. But most importantly this, I noticed 6 months ago that if I did a Q post, suddenly Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube didn't block it. It would go viral. And other people noticed that. That's why leftists go on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube and sell this anti-Trump stuff, because it's a form of currency being promoted on those platforms, a dopamine currency. The heads of Facebook, Twitter, they all admit they manipulate our minds with it. It's like a casino gulag that Max Kaiser talked about over a decade ago. You're not really getting anything for it, but you feel like you're powerful. So if you're anti-Trump, anti-gun, anti-America, anti-family, you get promoted on big Silicon Valley weaponized platforms. But if you're fighting all that, then you get shadow banned, you get blocked. And QAnon is not blocked. It's promoted and shoved in everybody's face, and it's a psyop that's recruited a troll army of people that think they're enlisted with the president, even though they never talked to the president, and who think that they've enlisted in this whole system. And really, you've now just enlisted in a globalist psyop that's telling us that the Attorney General's God. I talked to the president about this 6-7 months ago. Roger Stone's talked to him, obviously. People have gotten to him at Mar-a-Lago. They brought it up. And they've said, Mr. President, the Attorney General is trying to put people in jail for 20 years that smoke marijuana, taking us back to 1955. You ran on decriminalization that's incredibly popular with young people. And the president is so busy, and it wasn't even being covered on Fox News, that he went, excuse me? I told them to put it back to the states and to stop federal enforcement on recreational marijuana. And we told you, the president's been talked to a few months ago. He says he's going to go public and tell Sessions to stop it. 2 months after we told you that, exactly as we said happened. I remember back last April, the president directly told myself and others, no boots on the ground, we're not toppling Assad, that's not happening. Even though McMaster was going around saying on the news it was going to happen. And then Trump came out 3 days after I told you, he said no boots on the ground, he's the president, not McMaster. He came out word for word, and Bloomberg had it. Now remember, did Q ever do any of this? No, he didn't. Remember, I told you on March 8th of this year, called into my own show because Owen was hosting. I was on a week of vacation in Colorado. And I get a call from one of my State Department sources high up, and they said, listen, you know that deal 2 days ago where they sent the South Korean head of intelligence to meet with the North Korean head of intelligence and Kim Jong-un? They've already tacitly agreed to give up their nukes, to give up their ICBMs for an economic 10-year merger plan, and that it's going to be announced in the next month or so that there's going to be a big summit between them, and the agreement's already been made, tacitly. All of that happened exactly as I said, and the trolls tried to spin it that, oh no, Alex, that didn't happen in March. That happened, in April when Pompeo met. I'm on record. You cannot defeat the facts. You cannot defeat the facts I said Trump was going to win. You cannot defeat the facts I told you that smartphones were listening and watching to you 15 years ago. You cannot defeat the fact that I exposed the whole world government system. You cannot defeat the fact that we've been the absolute tip of the spear, and everybody knows it, and that's why we're number one under attack, why Hillary calls me the dark heart, why they're trying to shut everything down, why they've got George Soros and all of them suing me. And I'm very proud of what we've done with our listeners and our viewers that are great activists. So if they can't beat us that way, they're going to infiltrate our movement and try to get us infighting. Now, number one, this new QAnon, compromised QAnon, is causing infighting and then saying we're causing infighting when they attack us. That's number one. Number two, they're anonymous. And anybody can put on a Guy Fawkes mask. People used to say, are you for anonymous or against it? And I went, well, anybody can put a Guy Fawkes mask on and say, I'm anonymous. It's just a platform to say we are the people. It's like graffiti on a wall. Could be beautiful, could be ugly, could be smart, could be stupid, could be bland, could be pink, could be blue, could be green. It's anonymous. I am Alex Jones. I am here. I have a 23-year track record of changing the world with you. So that they create this mystique and this allure. So it's anonymous. It's getting pushed, not being blocked by the big internet censors. It's not being shadow banned. The system's promoting the infighting to manipulate people. And this is just a part two of what happened in the internet wars the last 20 years. I've already been through this. I already get it. But I only torpedo people like Glenn Beck or Ben Shapiro or this current thing at key times when I realize it's a juncture point and they're about to go with critical disinformation. So, you've got that. And then you've just got all the things QAnon has said that are wrong. By November, they'll all be in Gitmo. By November, Trump will arrest them all. Mueller's really on our side. And I remember seeing other people like buy into this whole thing. And Mueller's really a good guy. Wow, you're all about to really find out what's going to go down, everybody. And none of that's true. You have Mueller raiding Trump's lawyer. Now it's moved on to bimbos. So people get sucked into something. They don't want to admit they're wrong with cognitive dissonance. And once they're invested in it, once they've gone along with it, they can't admit they've been conned. And so that's what this is a big sock puppet, mockingbird operation, snowball that's gotten going, and then everybody's gotten hysterical about QAnon, because if they talk about it, the bots will then echo what you're saying, not the Russian bots that are pretty much imaginary, but the big tech bots. And so that's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And so again, the whole mainline internet is a bullying system to bully nationalists, conservatives, Christians, patriots, people that are public, into being anonymous. And then once you're in this anonymous world, it has no credibility, and the system can play all these games. So that's what I'm getting at here, is that we need to be public about what we're doing. We need to be the good guys out in the open. We need to be running for Congress, running for mayor, running for state house. We need to all be calling into talk radio, calling into C-SPAN. We all need to be putting bumper stickers on our cars. We all need to be at the city council meetings. We need to be talking to our PTA, talking to the Rotary Club, talking to the local Masonic Lodge, going into the Catholic Church if you're Catholic, with the Pope openly announcing world government and announcing, give in to Islam, and going in and challenging that and saying no, because from the globalist Pope to Hollywood to Silicon Valley, they're all making their move on free speech right now. And later this week, I'm going to go into a whole presentation on this, because about a month ago, they had South by Southwest, and we had over-posted videos on the Alex Jones channel, which makes there be too many, and then people aren't able to see them. So I walk into the office, and I say, you put up 30-something videos or whatever it was, take those down, put them on sub-channels. And the media thinks that I just have this brainiac ability to know what's good and what's not. And then when he took these videos down, go look at them. Well, they could obviously go to our sub-channels and then find them. Then it was some socialist girl in her little Japanese girl costume with her $1,000 smartphone, the $3,000 ticket, South by Southwest, with her latte from Starbucks, of course. Total corporatist, total consumerist. Talking about how great socialism in Venezuela is, and in a horrible Valley Girl accent. And I hadn't watched it till yesterday. I didn't know it was like on NPR and CNN and Vice and everywhere that she's like a god now. And I watched it, and they're like, Alex Jones is afraid of this woman. This woman is a god. And everything clicked. They know their people are zombies. They know they're drooling morons. They know it's embarrassing. They know their own people can see they're checking their phones every 5 seconds. They're real pale. They're kind of stumbling around. They're like zombies. They're walking out in traffic with their smartphones. And they know they're embarrassing. So I've noticed this trend, like where the little kid comes over and flips off Owen Schroyer. The media held him up as a great little kid because it was dysfunctional, it was fallen, it was stupid, it was crude, it was dumb. Parents teaching their kids to say F you. It was taken as a weaponized example to lower culture. And it was the same thing with her. She could hardly talk. She was totally stupid, acting like she was bombed out of her brain, constantly looking at her phone. The example of the type of weak, dumbed down zombie they want. And so all these people have been zombified. And so they hold up the worst of the zombies and say, this is a rock star. I always wondered why there was this transsexual named Leslie, who was a very, very sad, mentally ill individual. And I knew Leslie very well going back when he first showed up at Access TV like 18, 19 years ago. And then I had an office in Central Austin off Mary Street. And people can look into the details of this. I didn't know he had his house was a converted barn. I tried to be nice to Leslie when I first knew him at Access, and then later he'd get mad at me because I wouldn't come over and check out his barn 2 houses behind my office. And there was a little place called David's Food Store right next door to it. So I ran into Leslie for 8 years, a couple times a week. And Leslie had all his teeth falling out. He was just an absolutely horrible, mean, crude person. But he was very, very mentally ill, so I felt sorry for him. And they wanted to build a statue to him when he died. They worshipped it because if you knew Leslie, more often than not, he would have feces running down his leg in a cheerleader outfit. And then well-to-do gay men as a fetish, I later learned, because Leslie had a van. And sometimes they would park in the parking lot in front of my office where I was broadcasting from, and I could look out across at Cafe Caffeine was the name of the place, and I would watch the bus rocking. And these gay guys, they wanted to come there and have sex with the mentally disabled person with crap running down their legs, because it was an act of being gross. It was an act of being disturbed and twisted. And right now, Vice, Paul Watson tweeted this, I retweeted it, Real Alex Jones. There is this super creepy pedophile, the archetypal, self-described pedophile. And Salama put out videos of him lusting over, 4-year-old girls dancing. They got embarrassed and took it down with the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Vice puts it out like it's cool and says he's the victim of threats. And that he's this wonderful person. And then you realize this is the religion of people on the extreme of just evil, decadence. Straight guys, gay guys, whatever, pedophiles, whatever it is, of every stripe and group. We've got so much food, so much money, so much power, so much entertainment, that just like in other parts of history, things get more and more decadent. Camille Paglia writes about this, until societies just collapse. And we've now reached that tipping point. Yeah, if you can try to pull it up on Real Alex Jones, I'll show people it's a really creepy photo from Vice. And this is HBO. And HBO has now moved on and is now saying somebody that finds your 4 or 5-year-old daughter attractive is a nice person and a good person. Pure NAMBLA psychology. I remember 10 years ago, I'd hear about Project, the Tavistock Institute, that came up with the whole thing to sexualize kids and make them change their sex and have big billboards up with 10-year-old boys that are transsexual or whatever, how great it is, shaking their butt in people's faces. And I remember seeing all that and thinking, well, that'll never become mainstream. And then now it's bombarded, and now they've taken mankind out of the national anthem of Canada. They're taking father and mother out of the government forms. This is a true assault on biological reality. This is an overthrow. I mean, look at this guy. This is the image of just horror, the image of abject, evil bizarreness. And I'm not talking about this guy. I'm talking about the media pushing that and telling you that you should get off on the degeneracy of that. I mean, I never get tired of this beautiful vista right here. I never get tired of cheese enchiladas and a Dos Equis beer. I never get tired of my super hot, super sexy wife. I never think, hey, I want to go grab a 5-year-old girl out of a backyard because I want to feel powerful and I deserve it, and it's about me and how I'm powerful and use up their life for myself, their innocence, maybe even kill them, because that's what Satanism is. You got to do bad things to really get the power. You got to burn your soul away so that it can be replaced with this great operating system that Silicon Valley and the big tech companies, the creme de la creme of what they're pushing is the most fetid, stinking cultural death, sexualization of children, attacks on the family. Leslie, the poor, sad, because I remember going to San Francisco before Leslie came to Austin in like 1996 and shooting a documentary and seeing on the street weird bearded guys with zits all over their faces and boils all over their backs, wearing leather thongs, squatting and crapping on the ground, and the left going behind going, ooh, ooh. And I was like, why are these professors and people getting off on this? Because that makes them feel good. Seeing rotting, dying humans around them, openly promoting pedophilia, all of this is a sacrament because they feel fallen and they want you to fall even further than them. So then I knew that Leslie was the San Francisco prototype when he showed up in the leather thongs and, you know, the acne all over his back and the media just worshiping him. It was an expression of what was declassified about 20 years ago that the CIA, run by big foundations, pushed ugly architecture, pushed ugly art, this is admitted, to lower our spirit, to take the beauty out of things, so that we would give up hope. And now Bezos wants us in 250 square foot coffin apartments. They want us with the VR goggles while they walk amongst us like gods. They want us fallen so they can be gods above us. And that's what Elon Musk has warned about. And it just makes it where it's so good to be rejected by this evil system. It's so good to be rejected by this occult demonic system. It's so good to have CNN and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube hate me. It's so good to see Project Veritas videos where they secretly take the executives of all those companies saying our main job is to stop Alex Jones. What is it I'm saying that's got them so scared that they ratchet all this down to nothing? Down to only who's on the page watching it live, but later it's watched millions of times and passed around all the BitTorrents and, you know, downloaded 10 million times a month just off one podcast format. Because we know who they are, and not because we're even that special. I've studied history. And archetypally, when they're promoting pedophilia, and when they're promoting young women to get into bondage, which is a feeder into, finally you get tied up, and you're out in the middle of a field in a barn, and you never come back, honey. That's what these groups do, is they get a whole lot, a cavalcade of women that think, oh, 50 Shades of Grey is cool and all this. And then you get into that whole satanic world like Nexium and all this other stuff, which I told you about years ago. Remember last year I exposed Hollywood sex cults, and I said they have these cults where they beat and torture women as Hollywood slaves. They go to Richard Branson's place, came out in the news, Obama goes out there, and there's all these starving women who are like anorexic, formerly very beautiful, and they're all just bringing plates of food and groveling to executives. And you go, why would executives want a bunch of starving women with big black circles around their eyes? Because they're Satanists. And they seeing starving, freaked out, weirded out women whose hips aren't luscious and like a goddess, but are like a starving horse with their hips sticking out. They see that and it makes them satanically feel powerful. And I remember the Huffington Post attacked me, and I'm so proud of it, and said, last year it said, Jones claims Weinstein and others are part of cults where they starve and brand women and where they enjoy the fact that they're emaciated. And then they make the women come in and like worship the fat rolls and suck on the fat rolls of Weinstein. I've been told this by high-level Hollywood people. They're like, yeah, you don't want to be part of this. This is like 15, 16, 17 years ago, Alex. I'm not talking about Charlie Sheen. Other people told me about this stuff. You got to get out of here. Yeah, you don't want to be part of this. And they're like, Satanism isn't like the hot devil cheerleaders. Ginger Lynn in her prime, super hot. They lure you in with the goddess imagery. And then it's actually starving women with their ribs sticking out. That's Satanism. Just like the London Guardian reported even 20 years ago, back when they still had a soul, about how they found in this Rothschild castle in Burgundy all these dead women. One woman got out to the state police, and and some of them were still alive in cages, down to like 75 pounds, and then it just got shut down. So we have to understand, when you go in these real devil centers, it's not like Eyes Wide Shut, where it's all these hot women having an orgy and they just kill one woman as a sacrifice. That's low level. The real stuff is starving women, starving children to death. So see, I know you guys are going to embrace pedophilia because Vice is saying it's cool. He's a victim. He's an angel. We've got to accept him. I know you're going to accept that because you're never really been developed. Most liberals are kept in arrested development. They have a fascination with being young, so they feel threatened by full-grown adults. So you're being inducted into pedophilia right now by HBO. But are you going to be inducted into torturing the women and children to death? Because I really want to know if you're going to go that far. They already have South by Southwest. I learned about this when they were promoting it 15 years ago. There's a documentary about people that want to be shot. They blow big holes in each other. They think the scars look good. And the next thing is cutting an arm off, a leg off. And then the U.S. doesn't allow this, but Mexico does. So there's whole communities of men, mainly, who have their arms and legs cut off. They call them nuggets. And they live in little boxes in diapers. And then another man takes care of them and changes their diapers. So let's talk about your religion. See, I'm so honored to not be a Satanist. I'm so honored to be full of life, red blood, 4 children, strong, taking on the tyrants. Because my soul feels strong doing that. I feel the energy of God, the space wind, of the whole continuum saying, yes, live, be wholesome, be good, be strong. And it just says, charge the enemy, take them on, stand against them, not be accepted by it. So I don't want to be accepted. You guys keep not getting that. I don't want to be accepted by CNN, MSNBC, the globalists, the pedophile networks. The real religions beyond the mid-level and high-level like to torture children and rape them because they want the energy at satanic. But even greater energy is a super beautiful woman. The very highest level, they want to torture the goddess, which is a symbol of the earth, as they want to torture and kill the earth. But then they say that they are the guardians of the earth and want to cut off the carbon dioxide that the plants breathe. But forget the genetic engineering, all the toxic waste, all the aluminum dioxide in the atmosphere, all the real things. They want to destroy the planet. That's the big sacrifice. And if you can make women hate themselves and make women look like starving, emaciated people as the runway models have been designed to do, if you can do that and then sell that image and then bring it to the next level, you have victory. If you can create infertility, if you can attack women while claiming you represent them, that's the whole Hillary seduction, the Me Too, we'll take care of you, Hollywood loves the women, all these men that are torturing women and calling them slaves. Those women that stood up to Snyderman, they were just at an entry level, being called slaves, being beaten. And of course now we know he's tied into Nexium and all the rest of it. That's only the gateway. So, if you're in to all this stuff and you really want to have your soul destroyed and you want to give up your soul, destroy it by being an evil person so evil can come in, so you can be a horrible, wretched slave, be my guest. But here's the deal. I am free of the globalist clutches. I'm with God, not the fake churches, not the little devils with crucifix, but God. Life, genuine systems. And I am so blessed and so honored. And Trump's great sin is that he's just red-blooded, likes red-blooded, full-size, mature women. He likes prosperity. He likes it all. And that's why the globalists hate him, because he's not in the cult of death. And that's why they're out to get him. Okay, Infowars.com, Newswars.com. We've got EuropeWars.com, our Europe Bureau we're firing up. We're working with a lot of other folks in the UK that help launch the Brexit. I'm launching some big stuff you'll be hearing about soon. And our response to being mega attacked is to increase operations against the globalists. All right, I'm going to end this live transmission out here. Boy, summer's already hitting. And I love you all. I appreciate you all that stand against this evil. And understand, it is an honor for all of us to be persecuted by this. Because we're standing up for the children and the women and others that are being targeted by these people. The globalists hate our strongest too. They hate our military. Not that our military doesn't get used for evil things, but they hate the strongest of our men, willing to sacrifice themselves for others. They hate that archetype. That's why they shoot them all up with deadly vaccines that have time-released binary weapons in them. That's why they're giving them all these chemicals to hurt them and to soft kill our military. But our military is becoming aware of that as well, and there's revolts inside the leadership to stop that as well. Just like after you use a weapon after a war, they spike a cannon. Well, they're sabotaging and spiking our men. And they're bringing in all the sexual confusion and all the infighting in the military to sabotage the esprit de corps, to phase in the robots and the autonomous systems that are only under globalist control. So there's that attack happening as well. But our very biology, our very cells, our very eggs, our very sperm, our very DNA is under massive assault. That's the ultimate theft. That's the ultimate crime. And so it's not too late for those of you that work in the system, that have been chosen because you're weak mentally, chosen because you're scared, chosen because you were programmed and put into college and prepared to be anti-free speech, and then now put in a limited position of power. Even your own top executives have gone public and said, you are the victims of mind control. You are the victims of dopamine manipulation. And you're not going to find fulfillment following the system. And the algorithms are already being tested and phased in to remove you, those that lower the drawbridge, from manning the drawbridge. Because always there's a night of the long knives that targets the traitors. So you are the number one people on the globalist list. Those of you that work for the system out there that are enjoying your anti-human activities, enjoying this upside down world where the weak and twisted are given power to then wage war. Because even if you give the weak power positions, then they want to pull down the healthy body or the healthy family. Again, that's the religion that I just broke down earlier. Choose wisely, because it's all up to you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching this transmission. I'm glad the Korean peace deal is moving ahead. I'm very sad to see QAnon compromised, telling us that we're pro-Trump by being for Sessions and for Robert Mueller. If you believe that, I got a bridge I'd be happy to sell you. And remember, they censor us here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can copy this. We're free to air. You can post it on your channel. You name it, puppy dogs and kittens, to get around their algorithms. And you're welcome, again, to visit our websites, where for now we're not being censored. Infowars.com.